My dear soul brothers and soul sisters, we have been discussing Ananda Yoga as a part of Shiva Yoga in the Dasakarya Yoga. This is the 9th action. And in Ananda Yoga, Vallalar has given us 13 types of Anandas, bliss. In the last session, we discussed the first two, Vishayananda and Tattvananda. Today we are going to talk about Yogananda. And he says, Ani Yogananda. He uses the epithet Ani. So there are three things in this phrase, Ani Yogananda. Ani means jewel, ornament, as the ladies wear their jewels on their head, like that. Yoga itself is a jewel for man, for all humans. Because thought is the only unique characteristic of humans. Unfortunately, thought is at once a boon and a curse. All of our culture, civilization, pinnacles of arts, sciences, everything noble about mankind was given by thought. But at the same time, all sorts of destructive forces like wars, struggles, and internal chaos, all these things were also caused by thought. So, what is the answer for this? Only of late, the Western people have talked about yoga and meditation. They have discovered yoga now. But in India, it's a very, very ancient thing. Even some 5,000 years ago, during the period of Indus Valley civilization, Lord Shiva's idols in yogic postures, particularly in advanced yogic postures like Kundalini Yoga. I don't know how many of you have seen that posture. One has to sit folding their legs and in a straight line and sitting upon the balls of the heels. The most difficult posture. When you sit on the balls of your heels, what happens? You are closing your anus. According to yoga, our vital energy is oozing out all the 9 orifices in the body, particularly through the apana, through anus. So it should be always closed. Artificially, we can do that by practicing Aswini Mudra. But naturally, you can do it by closing it with the heel of your foot. That was the practice of Kundalini Yoga posture. But I don't know whether any guru recommends it now. Okay, so yoga is a very ancient technique in India, some 5,000 years old or something more perhaps. Why did they do it? They knew the science and sufferings caused by thought. So they wanted to still and silence thought. That's why Patanjali Yogi defined yoga at the very beginning of his Yoga Sutras. Yoga, Chitta Vritti, Nirodha. To stop thoughts is the aim of yoga. So, when a man becomes a yogi and practices yoga, what happens? He goes beyond humanity. He goes beyond humanity and he enters into silence. So most of the problems of man which are caused by thought, they will come to an end. Some modern gurus like J. Krishnamurti, they say, in the light of silence, all of your problems will be solved. Because thought is only a noise, and this noise is constantly creating wave-like in an ocean in our mind, all sorts of noises, and those noises are creating all of our sufferings. Buddha said desire is the root cause of suffering, and J. Krishnamurti goes one step further and says, even before desire, thought is the cause of suffering. Even desire is caused by thought. And Swami Vallalar, being scientific, says, yes, these two cause suffering, thought and desire, but even previous to man, suffering is there in all the animals, the hierarchy of beings. Even single-celled animals, they don't have thought. They have not developed their sixth sense of thought. But they too suffer for want of food. So hunger and duration of life, shortness of duration of life, are the two causes of suffering according to Vallalar. Well, it's a different subject. Let us not enter into that now. So yoga becomes the ornament of humanity. That is one sense, as an individual man or woman. At the same time, a yogi himself or herself becomes an ornament of the entire race of humanity. And Anandam, we get happiness, we get out of yoga in two stages. Either during the practice itself of yoga or its after effects, as its after effects in the form of siddhis, ashtama siddhis, anima, laghima, mahima, prati, vasitvam, isutvam, and there are 8 siddhis, and these are developed further into 8 siddhi, 64 types of siddhis, and Vallalar gives us an entire science of siddhis, and he says, Aduru siddhigal 64 7 kodi out of the 64 siddhis, each siddhis can be developed into 7 crores of siddhis, he says. So it's a different science. Let us not enter into that now. But when you practice, for instance, pranayama, which is one of the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga, you can feel it. You will feel like flying. And Mahayogi, sage scientist Tirumular has given us some of the wonderful poems concerning pranayama and other parts of yoga. It says, Pullinum mikka puraviye merkondal kallunna vendam thane kalitharum. See, Pullinum, pull means bird, mikka puravi, puravi means horse. So if you sit on a horse that flies faster, that runs faster than a bird flies, if you are able to control it, it will give you intoxication. Kallinum, kallunna vendam, you need not take liquor, any liquor, brandy or whiskey, kalitharum, that itself will give you intoxicating feeling. Tulli nadapikkum, soru thavirpikkum. There will be a spring in your step, and you won't feel lazy in your body or sloth in your mind. Ulladu sonnam unarvudayoruke. I am telling you the truth, but only those who have got earnestness can feel this. So pranayama will give you bliss even while you are practicing it. And Vallalar Swami says, to God himself, ஒரு நாழிகையில் யோக நிலையை உணர்த்தி மாலையே யோக பயனை முழுதும் அளித்தாய் மறுநாள் காலையே. Well, we have to note one point about Vallalar Swami's body. Everything took place in a lightning speed, at the speed of light in his body, because it was made ultra sensitive by his love and compassion for all beings. Here, Swami says, "O Lord, you taught me yoga one evening and only for the duration of one nāழிகை." Nāழிகை means 24 minutes. But I practiced during the whole night. And in the next morning, you gave me its fruits. What are the fruits of practice of yoga? Ambrosia will secrete in your body. So he had tasted, he says, some 12 kinds of ambrosia. Arulamudam, ambrosia of compassion, absolute compassion is the last. It's a separate science, exact science he tells us. So as far as Vallalar Swami is concerned, he is practical, pragmatic and scientific in his aims, approach, methodology and results. And Tirumular Swami also says the same thing in a different poem. Says, பிராணன் மனத்தொடும் பேராத அடங்கி பிராணன் இருக்கில் பிறப்பு இறப்பு இல்லை. Says pranayama or Vasiyoga can give you Jivan Mukti itself. Not Ashtanga Yoga is needed. All the 8 limbs are not needed. Just practicing pranayama or Vasiyoga. Here he means Vasiyoga, Kriya Yoga. பிறப்பு இறப்பு இல்லை. You need not be born, you need not die. You can attain Jivan Mukti state. பிராணன் மனத்தொடும் பேராதடங்கி பிராணன் இருக்கில் பிறப்பிறப்பு இல்லை. பிராணன் மடைமாறி பேச்சு அறிவித்து பிராணன் அடை பேறு பேறு பெற்று உண்பீர் நீரே. You can taste ambrosia, he says. And Dr. Natarajan, B. Natarajan, you must know this, being a yogi, you must know 2 names. Dr. B. Natarajan was a great economist. He was employed by the Chinese government in 1930s and 40s. He was a great scholar in Tirumandaram. He has translated all the 3,000 verses of Tirumandaram into English, and it was beautifully published just for 150 rupees by Sri Ramakrishna Mission. You can buy it. There is another name, recent one, Yogi Ramayya of Chettinad. He had an ashram in Canada, and he says in his autobiography that he went to Himalayas and met Kriya Baba and learnt Kriya Yoga, that is our Siddhas Vasi Yoga, from Baba himself. And according to his story, Kriya Baba's name was Nagaraj. He was born in Pottanur, somewhere near Pondicherry, in the state of Tamil Nadu. Pottanur. They have built a shrine there for Babaji. And at the age of 6, he ran away from his house, and at Gandhi in Ceylon, in a Murugan temple, Siddha Bhogar himself taught him this Kriya Yoga. I am telling you the version narrated by Yogi Ramaya in his book. Anyhow, Yogi Ramaya has codified the entire Kriya Yoga in 144 actions, step by step, graded actions. One by one, you can learn it. And after Yogi Ramaya attained Mahasamadhi, his disciple, a Canadian, Govindan by name, he renamed himself as Marshal Govindan. He has been publishing many books of Siddha literature. Ramaya himself published many Siddha poems concerning yoga, Bogarela Ayiram, and many other things. Padin Sittar Gnana Kovai, all those anthologies himself published. And after his disciple is continuing the publications. All of them are available in English. Their headquarters seems to be in Bangalore. If you want, you can contact them and you can get all these books. And there is one more name you should know. There was a Czech scholar, Kamil Zvelabil, long back, maybe some 50 years or more. He published the poems of Siddhas, Padin Sittar Gnana Korvai, as Poets of Power. That's also available in the market. You can get it and read it. It is beautifully, all the poems are beautifully rendered. Of late, 9 volumes in English have been published on Tirumandram, translations of each Tantra with commentaries. I don't know how far they are yogically true, because I know some of them. They are great scholars in English, so the translation will be good. English translation will be good, but literal. I don't think some of them would have entered deep into the inner yogic meaning of the poems. But Dr. Natarajan was able to penetrate into the secret of yoga literature. So we have got now all this literature on Tirumandram. As an information, it is my duty to tell you about Siddha literature. You can buy them, you can learn them, but yoga cannot be learnt by reading unless some teacher teaches you in person. It's very difficult and more dangerous to practice just by learning. Okay. Now, here Dr. Natarajan translates this poem like this. Let prana merge in mind, and together the two be stilled. Then no more shall birth and death be, when mind and prana both are interacting. They reciprocate each other. When both are stilled, what happens? You attain Jivan Mukti state. You need not undergo the cycle of natural cycle of birth and death. Therefore, learn to direct breath in streams alternating left and right. Then shall you taste the nectar of life. Tirumandram 567. And he has given us many verses in the chapter on pranayama. We don't have time to enter into all those songs. I'll just sum up what he says as the effects of pranayama. He says, pranayama gives the human body supreme strength like Anjaneya and Bhima. And it can, breath control makes body as light as a carpenter bee. It makes you very light also. At the same time, it gives you immense strength, but it makes you as light as a carpenter bee. And then it purifies the body. This is very important. Only through pranayama one can purify the entire body, and all the diseases caused by impurities can be expelled from the body. So for the purification of body, there is nothing like pranayama. And this is, the last two are very important. Pranayama enables one the ending of time and death. See, not Ashtanga Yoga or any other yoga. Just mere pranayama can help you to conquer time itself. The ending of time is possible by correctly practicing pranayama. Even death can be conquered, says Mahayogi Tirumular. See, Rapagalilla Yudate Venilave, Nanum Irka Yenni Vaduhindren Venilave. This is by Swami Vallalar. What does he mean by Rapagalilla Yudate? Time is caused by night and time. In the Brahmaloka, there will be always the sun shining. There won't be any darkness, according to our Puranas. And he says, during the practice of yoga, a yogi will come to a stage where there won't be any night or day. That is, he will enter into a timeless zone. Unless one enters into the timeless zone, he cannot claim to be a yogi, according to Vallalar Swami. Only there you could see God. That is one thing. Only then, after attaining the timeless zone, you can enter into Samadhi and you can go further into Gnana Siddhi. And Swami says, இரவு பகல் இல்லாத பெருநிலையில் ஏற்றி என்னை இன்புறச் செய்த குருவே. In Natarajapati Malay says, இரவு பகல் இல்லாத பெருநிலையில், it's a divine condition, he says, where there is no night or day. You took me into that higher region, O my Guru, Lord Nataraja, he says. In another poem, says, இரவு பகல் அற்ற ஒரு தருணத்தில் உற்ற பேரின்பமே நடராஜபதியே. When did he have the darshan of Lord Nataraja? இரவு பகல் அற்ற ஒரு தருணத்தில், only in a moment where he had transcended time, creating night and day. In that timeless zone, he was able to see Nataraja. So, how to have the darshan of God? Only when you reach in the inside a place where there are no nights and days. So, this is mentioned by almost all the great yogis. O full moon, he says, Rapagalilla Vidate Venilave, Nanum Irka Yenni Vaduhindren Venilave. O full moon, I want to be in that place where there is no night or day. This is by Vallalar Swami. And in another poem at Karanguri, he wrote a hymn on Karanguri Vinayagar. He considered all deities as reflections of Lord Arutperunjothi. And while he wrote his hymn on Ganapati, he says, he considered Ganapati as the embodiment of Vasi Yoga. That's why he called Ganapati Kalai Nirai Ganapati. Kalai means breath. Kalai Nirai, oh, embodiment of the perfection of Vasi. That's why he is given a big belly. Most of the Vasi yogis we can see, they'll have a small paunch. That is by practicing one type of Vasi yoga. Well, that's a different matter. It will take a long time to explain it. We'll see that later. Kalai Nirai Ganapati Saranam Saranam. Gajamukha Ganapati Saranam Saranam. And he asks Ganapati, when shall I meet you, when shall I see you, meet you and merge with you and attain that divine bliss? And he says, Nadamum Kadandu. Nada is the first tattva among the 36 tattvas. We saw that earlier. Nadam is the first tattvam, and out of Nada is born Bindu, and out of Bindu are formed all the other 34 derivative tattvas. Nadamum Kadandu Niraindu. Here it means Vehakal, divine breath. No fragmented breath that gives us fragmented conscious. Niraindu. Ninmayame nan ena arindu. I am not a human. I am also divine. Like you. I am a shadow of you. This is the third point. He gives us 5 points in this poem. Nan tan amam bedamum kadanda. Now I am different and you are different. This is Dvaitam, Betam, difference, distinction. This distinction must go. I am different from, the Bhakta is different from God. This difference is called Dvaitam. This must be transcended and one should feel at one with God himself. And he says, Nan Tan Am Bedamum Kadanda. So this distinction must be transcended. At one stage, the Bhakta becomes God himself. They join together. And what happens? And he gives a scientific indication there. Mauna Rajyate. At that time, silence will ensue. That is the region of total silence beyond the noise of thoughts. Mauna Rajyate Pedaye. This idiot, he calls himself always like that out of respect for God. Pedayen Pidipadu Ennalo. Nadamum Kadandu Niraindu Ninmayame Nanena Arindu Nantanam Bedamum Kadanda Maunarajyate Bedayen Pidipadu Ennalo. See, these yogis and saints, when they pray to the Lord, they don't pray as we do for money, for comforts, for cars, for bungalows, all these, for all these worldly things. They want only one thing. They want God only. They want to attain God himself. They want to become one with God. And in the later poems we are going to see, they don't want even Samadhi state. Thirumolar Swami says, and Vallalar also says, I don't want Samadhi. I want you. I want to be with you. I want to live inside you. So that is the way of divine life. Not as a human, not as a guru, not as a saint. No. The ultimate aim is to attain Shiva and live like Shiva. That is Shiva Bhogam, the last action in Dasakarya Yoga. And we are going to see that. And O Lord Ganapati, the divine unfragmented breath, as contrasted with the human breath causing fragmented consciousness, only when Vasi turns into Shiva's breath, one will be able to end time. Ending of time is very important in the journey of yoga. While addressing Karungudi Vinayaka, he asks him in one verse, where is the day when I transcend time and Nada Tattva and attain you and feel at one with you without the distinction of the sense of I and you and attain the kingdom of silence. And Siddhar Arunagirinathar also describes Paramasiva Yoga as the experience of timelessness, where there is no night or day. See, Saint Arunagirinatha, who wrote his Tirupugal, consisting of 16,000 mellifluous verses, beautiful melodies and talas. There is nothing like Tirupugal in the entire world literature. Unfortunately, we have lost 9/10 of it. Now we have got only 1,600 poems in Tirupugal. And in one place, Swami Arunagirinatha says, he defines Siva Yogam, Paramasiva Yogam, says, Iravu Pagal Pona Gnana Paramasiva Yogam. Iravu Pagal Pona Gnana Paramasiva Yogam. So, in Lord Shiva's life, there is no night or no day. He is constantly acting, he is constantly dancing inside every atom, inside every photon and quantum. They are constantly revolving around the nucleus. The same way in the macrocosmic world, all the planets are revolving around the sun, and all the suns are revolving around black holes, and black holes are revolving around, we don't know, science doesn't tell you what they are revolving around. So this movement is constant. That was why in Saivism, Lord was known as Nata Raja, the king of dancing, eternal dancing. And many people have written about this dance of Shiva, like Ananda Yoga. You must read those books. And about pranayama, there is one more beautiful poem I would like to cite you from Tirumandiram. Mooladwarathai mukkaramitiru. This is again about the ending of time in one's own body. Mooladwarathai mukkaramitiru. Melai dwarathin mel manam vaithiru. Velotta kannai veliyil vizhithiru. Kalathai vellum karuthidudane. What a beautiful poems. Mooladwarathai mukkaramitiru. Close the lower Muladhara orifice, that is your anus. Melai dwarathin mel manam vaithiru. Keep your mind, concentrate your mind on the hole in the Sahasrara. Velutta kannai veliyil vizhithiru. Fix your velna knife like, saber like sight, and meditate on that space without blinking. That's why he says Velutta kann. Do not blink. Velutta kannai veliyil vizhithiru. Concentrate your saber like sight and meditate. You must concentrate on the inner space, Sitakasa. This is the way to conquer time. Tirumandiram 583. This is Kalathai vellum karuthidu dani. Even some of the modern day gurus like J. Krishnamurti have talked about the ending of time. In fact, he has written a whole book on that. He didn't write it. It was the recording of a dialogue between J. Krishnamurti and Professor David Bohm, who was an assistant of Albert Einstein. They discuss about the ending of time in the consciousness of man. And they come to a conclusion that when you end thought, you come to the ending of time. Well, that may be true, but in my humble opinion, well, Krishnamurti was my first mentor. I should not say anything against him. But it is only partially true, because time operates not only in the human mind, it also operates in the human body. Unless time is conquered in the human body, one could not or should not get away from these illnesses, diseases, old age and death. That's the operation of time in the human body. Here, Siddhas like Tirumular and Vallalar, Agastya and all the 18 Siddhas, they were concerned not only with the ending of time in mind, but also in the body, because they wanted conquest of physical death also, physical immortality also. So they go deeper and they say you must practice the right type of pranayama. Of course, J. Krishnamurti knew about pranayama, and every day he was practicing pranayama for 1.5 hours. That was why he was able to live for 91 years despite his illness of diabetes. Well, that's a different story, and there is many poems about pranayama by Tirumular Swami. I don't know whether we have time. Let me give you just one more poem. See, among the 8 limbs of yoga, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. These are the 8 limbs of yoga, Raja Yoga of Patanjali, you know. Pratyahara is the most important point. It turns your attention from the external world to the internal world. Withdraw your senses from the external world, because every moment your life spirit is oozing out of your body through these 5 senses and your mind. So withdrawal of the senses from the external world is called pratyahara, and it plays a major role in Ashtanga Yoga. And Tirumular Swami tells us that your pranayama itself could help you in practicing pratyahara. And long before that, ancient sage scientist Tiruvallur said, ஒருமையுள் ஆமை போல் ஐந்தடக்கல் ஆற்றின் ஒருவருக்கு எழுமையும் ஏமாப்புடைத்து. Extraordinary yogic statement. Though he was not considered as a yogi, well, he was a Mahayogi, not only a great saint and jnani, but a Mahayogi. Like a tortoise, if you could withdraw your 5 senses into yourself, you will have 2 benefits, says. Elumayum yema pudaithu. That is, in all the 7 births, it will enrich your life and give you all sorts of benefits like education, health and longevity, etc. Elumayum yema pudaithu means in 7 births. But the inner meaning is that Yamam means gold, Gnana Tangam. So this body, it has got 7 tissues. All the 7 tissues will be transformed into philosophical gold, and your body will become like the body of Lord Nataraja at Stambram. That is why it was cast into pure gold, Lord Nataraja's body. So this couplet gives us 2 meanings. Orumayul ஆமை போல் ஐந்தடக்கலாட்டின் ஒருவருக்கு எழுமையும் ஏமாப்புடைத்து. Also in another couplet in the very கடவுள் வாழ்த்து, in the very first chapter of Tirukkural, Tiruvallur Swami has given us this pratyahara. Says it helps you in attaining not only longevity but also in immortality. பொறிவாயில் ஐந்தவித்தான் பொய்தீர் ஒழுக்க நெறி நின்றார் நீடு வாழ்வார். If you practice Siddha Yoga, பொய்தீர் ஒழுக்க neri, if you are able to purify your body of all impurities, பொய்தீர் ஒழுக்க நெறி நின்றார், and பொறிவாயில் ஐந்தவித்தான், if you are able to control and withdraw all the 5 senses, you will live long in this world. And Tirumular Swami says the same thing in another verse. புறப்பட்ட வாயு புகவிடா வண்ணம் திறப்பட்ட நிச்சயம் சேர்ந்து உடன் நின்றால் உறப்பட்டு நின்றது உள்ளமும் ஆங்கே. புறப்பட்டு போகான் பெருந்தகையானே. புறப்பட்டு போகான் பெருந்தகையானே means Lord Shiva will not leave your body and you will become an immortal. So what you have to do is புறப்பட்ட வாயு புகவிடா வண்ணம் திறப்பட்ட நிச்சயம் சேர்ந்து உடன் நின்றால், when your mind is resolute and if you are able to control your breath, உறப்பட்டு நின்றது உள்ளமும் அங்கே, your mind will be stopped and God will not leave your body. Now every moment our mind is going out, our prana is going out of the body mind complex. That is why we die. If breath that is exhaled is contained within, the mind is also contained there, and the Lord shall not leave you. And with one more poem, we will conclude this session. I don't. Shan, do we have time? Okay. seeing inside could show you all the external galaxies from inside, says Vallalar. Ulagam yavayum kanum vor ulavai arindilire. Enter into your Sitsabha. There is a door here at the center of your head. Knock at the door, that door will be opened. How to knock at it? With your prayer, with your meditation, with your Vasi Yoga. These are the three ways to knock at the door, and the door shall be open. One more thing is added by Vallalar, that is...
You have time. You have a lot of time.
Okay.
Because Dr. Anpuganapati is not joining today, so...
Oh, okay. Okay. Then,
Dr. Shan, I forgot to record today.
okay, let me continue.
Okay, sorry.
See, Ulagam Yavayam Kan or Ulavai Arindilire. You can see all the galaxies in the entire cosmos just by looking inside your Chitsabha. Because inside the Chitsabha, this is the wormhole discovered by our ancient Siddhas long back. And now only now the scientists are talking about wormhole through which you can enter into multiverse, not universe but multiverse, they say. Well, that wormhole is already there inside. Ulagam yavayum kanum vor ulavai arindilire. The secret door. Just open it and enter into it. You can see the entire cosmos inside. One modern day scholar, Joseph Campbell, he has written a whole book on that. Inner reaches of outer space. See, the very title tells you everything. Inner reaches of outer space. All these things are possible. Sivalogam, Sittar Sivalogam ingeye derisitor. Rumular Swami says, Sittar Sivalogam ingeye derisitor. It is not in Kailaya somewhere beyond the universe or at the Himalayas. Himalayas is here. Kailash is here. Your Chitsabai, your Atman is that place. And you can enter into your Atman by a small door. And if you can open the door and enter into Chitsabha, you can see all the galaxies and all the Milky Ways and all there is in the entire cosmos from inside. That is the way to attain Mukti, that is the way to attain Siddhi, that is the way to attain divinity according to our Siddha tradition. He says, Kuripinin ulle kuvalayam tondrum. Kuvalayam is universe. குறிப்பினின் உள்ளே குவலயம் தோன்றும் வெறுப்பு இருள் நீங்கி what is hateful, non-desirable, the darkness caused by our mind, marularivu, you must remove that. வெறுப்பு இருள் நீங்கி விகிர்தனை நாடும். If you want only God, விகிர்தனை நாடும் சிறப்புறு சிந்தையை சிக்கென்று உணரில். Must concentrate only on that. And Vallalar Swami says, இச்சை நின்மேல் அன்று எனக்கு இவ்வுலகில் வேறொன்றும் இல்லை. இச்சை என்னானை என்னருமை ஐயாவே உன்னானை says, I have no other desire whatsoever in this world except to see you and merge with you, O Lord. So this is the way followed by all the saints. They want only God, nothing else. Nothing else. They don't want siddhis, they don't want name or fame. Swami Vallalar gives us any number of poems on this point. So, Sirappuru Sindayai Sikkendru Unaril. Unnai chikkena pidithen engezhundaruluvathu niye. Manikavasa Swami asks Siva. Aripuru Kaatchi. Swami Vallalar calls it Kanada Kaatchi. That is the only sight needed. What is that sight? Sight of Lord, seeing God Himself. That's the most beautiful thing, that's the most desirable thing in a man's life. Seeing God, what could be other than that? The ultimate source of all possible bliss. Aripuru Kaatchi. Amararumame, you can also become a divine being. So, Kuripinin ulle kuvalayam tondrum, Verupirul நீங்கி விகிர்தனை நாடும் சிறப்புறு சிந்தையை சிக்கென்று உணரில் அரிப்பூறு காட்சி அமரருமாமே. திருமந்திரம் 587. See inside the Chitsabha all the galaxies you will see. Get rid of the darkness of mind's thoughts. Concentrate only on seeing God. You will see Him and become immortal. Unfortunately, modern science refuses to acknowledge this possibility, let alone explore it. Someday, some scientists who are really interested in ancient lore will try this possibility, and a new higher science will be born, I hope. Because what modern cosmologists are talking about, well, all these things were experimented by our Siddhas some 2000, 5000, 10,000 years ago. All the records are already there. You don't have to find them with your telescope, what they have already discovered so far. How did they know that Mars is red in color? Sevai. See, the very name indicates that it is red in color. Sevai. How did they know without any telescope? And in his book, Fridge of Capra, The Tao of Physics, he says the very form of Lord Nataraja is like the movement of subatomic particle inside the atom. That was the first time the movement of the subatomic particles inside the atoms was photographed by electron telescope. When the picture was shown to him, he says to his friends, I have already seen it. They laughed at him. In the entire history, this is the first time it is photographed. How could you have seen it? And finally, after he was roaming around for seeing that picture once again, at last, he went into a friend's room. He was a hippie. There he saw the dancing posture of Nataraja. Oh, this is the way. He made a montage. He put the picture upon the picture of Lord Nataraja, and they coincided exactly. He has given all these things in his book on the Tao of Physics. So, I don't say exactly all these things have been given to us by our ancient Siddhas, but they too have discovered all these things. And Swami says, Anda Kodi Anaitum Araikanate Yegininra Kalainere Maniye says. So they had their own techniques of traveling all over the cosmos. And my request and worry is that give it a chance. Some scientists must come forward to explore these possibilities at least. If you don't accept it, you can even reject it. You got your own right. That is scientific. But at least try it. Make an attempt. See whether what they say is true or nonsense. You can say it is nonsense only after experimentation, not before that. That is not scientific. Okay. And the last point is that I would like to close this. And Swami Tirumular says, Samadhi can give you all sorts of paranormal powers like telepathy, telekinesis, and it can make you a Superman. All Siddhas were Superman. Superman is not something new concept, it's a very old concept. Every Siddha was a Superman. Vallalar became a divine man. But Tirumular and Vallalar, they don't accept. Tirumular accepts Samadhi and says, Samadhi can give you all the Attama Siddhis, 8 Siddhis. But if you want to go with God, if you want to merge with God, you don't need all these minor Siddhis. You can attain even divine 5 powers of creation, preservation, and destruction, obscuration, and grace. Panchamaga Kritis. Samadhi seivarku Tagumpala Yogam. Samadhigal Vendam Iraivudan Yegil. Well, if you attain Samadhi, all sorts of yoga will come to you. You can learn all sorts of yogas by entering into Samadhi. But if you want to go with God and merge with Him, you don't need Samadhi. Samadhidan illai than avanagil. If you become God, you don't need Samadhi. Samadhiyil ettettu chittiyum idume. But if you want Samadhi, well, it will give you Attama Siddhis. And that's why Vallalar Swami says, Samadhi Pazhakam Pazhakamalla Sagaja Pazhakame Sagajam. Because according to Vallalar Swami, cessation of consciousness is death. There should not be any break in your consciousness. It should be go on all through the 24 hours, all through 365 days in a year, and throughout your lifetime, and after that there should be no cessation of consciousness. There should be no break in your consciousness. That is why he does not accept these three things: sleep, samadhi, and death. So we have to some extent discussed and described Ani Yoganandam, as Vallalar put it. I think that's enough for today's class. And in our next session, we are going to discuss the fourth kind of bliss called Jnananandam. Arutperunjothi, Arutperunjothi, Thanipperum Karunai, Arutperunjothi. May all sentient beings live in happiness. May the divine feet of Vallalar be praised. Word God. With that, I would like to close. Thank you, Shan. You can take it. I am done. Since I got some other job, I'll move away. We'll meet next week. Thank you. Thank you, sir.